Alright, leg day today. Starting off with calves, doing a standing calf machine here, as you're going to get a little bit more benefit doing this compared to a kneeling movement. And I also want to start my leg days with these because I'm not going to burn myself out doing them. You know, doing a leg press after this is pretty easy, but doing calves after leg press, not so much. So I'm going to start with these. And again, with all my videos, 2 sets done close to failure or to failure. I'm only showing 1 set here. It's going to be my final set of every single movement that I performed today. And with these, I'm going to absolute failure, past technical failure. As you can see, I'm getting to the point where I'm doing, quarter reps and then essentially, baby partials. I go until I can't get the weight up at all. Especially with calves, that's really good in the stretch position. There's been some research that's found that that's helpful. Now we're going into stiff-legged deadlifts here. Can't really see from this angle. My knees are barely bending, if any at all. Focusing mainly on pushing my hips backwards and then bracing my core as much as I can. You can see I'm working on my breath work here as much as possible. Taking in a breath before I go down. Bracing my core. If someone were to push on my sides, you want to be able to not have your stomach cinch in at all. So you're kind of almost bracing for a punch in a sense. And then I'm controlling the weight on the way down. And then exhaling on the way up. Keeping my core tight as I exhale up though. I am using lifting straps with these as I want to be as stable as possible and not be limited by my grip strength. Same thing here on my leg press movement. I don't want to be limited by my grip strength, so I'm using my wrist straps here. And I'm showing my setup for this one. I usually cut this out, but I wanted to kind of talk this through about how I would approach it for most of my movements. So I'm going to put the wrist straps on. Going to get my feet set. I do my heels at the very bottom of the pad because more towards the bottom is going to allow more knee flexion, which is going to mean more quad focused, and that's what I'm going for. And then I get my back set, big brace, and then push. You may be asking, why would I use wrist straps on something like this? Reason being, there's no pad holding my shoulders down, so as I push with my feet, my butt's going to slide up, and so using the wrist straps is going to keep it easier to keep my butt in the seat compared to, rising up. And I'm almost doing the full stack here, so my forearm strength is really going to be tested if I'm going for a pretty heavy set here and trying to control the movement. I just don't want to have to be focusing on my forearms while I'm trying to focus on my legs. Again, here with all my movements, big breath in at the top, controlling my core, and then exhaling out on the bottom. And I need a second here, apparently. Gotta talk myself through it. Here we go. Come on, Max. There we go. So you got 1 more in the tank? Nope, just control the eccentric. Alright, that was a good one. That was a good final rep there. Sometimes if you gotta brace a second, that's okay. Now going into the lying hamstring curl here. Usually do seated. I switched to lying today because the seated was taken. And as you can see, I'm pointing my toes on this or performing plantar flexion. That's going to be best in order to isolate that upper leg, that hamstring. However, you see my hips pop up there, so I start dropping into the dorsiflexion or bringing my toes towards my knees. I'm not used to this movement, so I loaded it up a little too heavy, so I had the dorsiflex early, which means that my lower leg can kind of engage a little bit more. I would generally recommend pointing your toes for the entire movement if you can. I just couldn't because the weight was too heavy, as I, again, haven't really done that machine very often, so I didn't know my weight for it. Last one here for the day, leg extension. I try and drop the seat back as much as possible because I want to target my rec fem, or that upper quad muscle that crosses the hip joint. So bringing the seat back is going to help with that, and trying to drive up as high as I can, slow and controlled on the way down here. Again, holding onto those handles. I can use wrist straps on this, however I didn't on this one. Going to, again, absolute or complete failure. And yeah, there's my leg day, guys.